Alright, let's do this one last time. This was Mr. Needlemouse. Created by Yuji Naka and Naoto Oshima, for the last 29 years, he's been the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm pretty sure you know the rest. He sold a bunch of games, had a couple of sequels, was rebooted, and then was rebooted again, and again, and again, and again. And he did this.
Leo, get yourself together, 'cause I don't want it so.
We don't really talk about this. Look, he's a comic book, he's a serial, he's a major motion picture, he has an excellent theme song, and a so-so popsicle. I mean, he's looked worse. But after everything, people still love Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, who wouldn't? So no matter how many hits he takes, he always finds a way to come back. Because the only thing standing between Sega and obscurity is him. There's only one Sonic the Hedgehog, and you're looking at him. If you click on my videos as soon as you see I've uploaded, no matter what the topic is, first of all, thanks. And secondly, you might be wondering what horrible aspect of Sonic is Moth going to tear into today. Is Sonic CD sexist? Is Sonic X racist? Does Sonic 2006 promote monarchism, unlawful imprisonment, and unethical experimentation? Well, yes to all of that. Yes, you can still enjoy those things, but they have their problems. But this time, I want to be a bit more positive. See, I was talking to my friend Okiro, who also happens to have a YouTube channel, and it's very good, and you should definitely be watching his content. Anyways, we were discussing, and I just feel like all of my content is so negative. I'd like to be more positive, but I'm worried about being genuine.
Hey, listen, man. I think the best video I've done so far is my Logan video, just because I'm such a big fan of the movie.
Oh, of course. I should do a video about a Hugh Jackman movie.
No, that's not what I meant at all.
Thanks, Okiro. Gotta go.
Swing and a miss.
Obviously, though, I hit a bit of a problem with regards to that plan. Happy Feet isn't even remotely scientifically accurate, so instead, I decided to talk about Sonic. Needless to say, Sonic the Hedgehog has a lot in common with Spider-Man. That's why I did that introduction. He's incredibly popular both at home and at large, he's successful across different mediums, he's often in dire situations but copes with sarcasm and insulting his opponents. He's not the most mature hero, but his determination and sense of responsibility makes him relatable even at his most irritating. And, particularly, he has multiple versions across the decades, and lots of people have different favorites. With the possible exception of the original 3 games, and Knuckles, no entry to the franchise has been loved by every part of the fanbase, which makes sense when gameplay diverges so much across the series, as well as tone. Still, nearly every game has carved out a bit of a niche crowd. You can find a fan of just about every part of the series if you look hard enough. But one of the series' spin-offs that I feel doesn't really get a lot of appreciation, and in fact I think might be worth talking a bit about, Sonic and the Secret Rings. The sort of Nintendo Wii answer to Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, I didn't get Secret Rings until a number of years after its 2007 release, but when I played it, I really enjoyed it. I blazed through the story mode, enchanted along the way, had a lot of fun replaying levels, and was delighted by the party mode. As a young person that wanted to see if other people were equally excited, I looked around on the internet to see what reaction the game had received. I was not thrilled with what my searches discovered. Mind you, this was a time when internet discussion about video games especially mainly consisted of calling anybody that didn't agree with a predetermined decision some variant of an insult, ranging from silly put-downs to full-on slurs. No matter what I found, I would have been put in a negative mood by reading it, even if they had agreed with me. But finding out as a kid with depression that what you think is really fun is despised by a bunch of adults who then further even express that they hate you for having a differing opinion, is pretty disheartening. Now, as an adult, I recognize this as overly aggressive, childish grandstanding, but as a young person, I was hurt, and that hurt made me question my opinions. I know this sounds silly, but when I was a kid, if I found out something I liked was hated by adults, I figured I must be wrong. After all, this thing is good, and this thing is bad seem like mutually exclusive statements, and who am I to disagree with an adult? Perhaps some of you experienced something similar growing up. Have you ever felt less about yourself for liking something that others dislike? Did you ever try to convince yourself that you didn't actually like it? Did you say to yourself, that's for little kids or for babies, and I'm past it, even if deep down you still wish you could enjoy it? I mean, maybe that's just me, but I know if I had spent more of my childhood enjoying what I liked rather than pretending I was above it, I'd have had a lot more fun. Let me know in the comments if you experienced something similar. So, seeing as the internet had deemed Secret Reigns and its sequel, The Black Knight, bad, and its fans bad for liking it, I felt bad for liking it. I felt ashamed and foolish, and that's absurd, of course, but that's how kids react to being insulted sometimes. I stopped paying attention to Sonic, stopped enjoying the universe, and didn't really come back to the franchise for a couple years. But as I entered high school, I matured a little bit. I didn't need validation from outside sources on my tastes, as I learned one thing. Art is subjective. I don't have to be wrong for somebody else's opinion to be right, and I think this is exemplified in one of my previous series. I may think that Heart of Darkness is a racist mess, and it is, but others may think it's a masterful piece of writing, which it also is. So the people that found Secret Rings unplayable or absurd had valid opinions, but it didn't mean my opinion was invalid. I mean, their resorting to calling fans of the game homophobic slurs weren't valid, but them hating the game doesn't take away from my enjoyment of it anymore. Just like my enjoyment shouldn't convince anyone in my audience that Secret Reigns is better than you already thought. That said, though, I'd like to express why I personally find Secret Reigns so charming. So, quickly, here's a brief summary of Sonic and the Secret Reigns. Sonic the Hedgehog is asked by the genie of the ring, named Shara, if he'd be willing to enter the world of the Arabian Nights, a sort of mindscape in which Scheherazade's tales, and the ones added in later editions, all coexist. A genie named Eraser Jin is trying to destroy the stories, and Sonic is willing to help Shara stop him. But upon entering this world, Sonic is shot by Eraser, with a cursed arrow meant for Shara, and to remove the curse he must collect the 7 world rings, going on multiple adventures and meeting various characters from the tales. Upon completing this, it's revealed that Shara used to be with Eraser, and takes the opportunity to rejoin him and give him the rings, even though she's horribly conflicted. Sonic wishes that she could do what she really wants, but given that she both wants to be with Eraser and wants to do good, she's split. This ultimately leads to basically her mind breaking. However, she also gave Sonic a backup plan, knowing she might return to Eraser. She gave Sonic the lamp that housed Eraser, meaning that he could use 3 wishes to 1. Restore the world, 2. Save Shara, and 3. Seal away Eraser. With Shara restored, he helps comfort her as the game ends. Okay, so that's a sum up. First of all, I find this Sonic very likable. Sonic is a very sassy character by design, so in some games it seems like he doesn't really care about what's going on in the world, and if that's how you prefer it, good for you. He fights Eggman, but, of course he does. If he doesn't, he and everybody he cares about will die. In this, though, he's convinced to help entirely through Shara asking him. He's not at risk, his friends aren't at risk, he's asked to help, and he decides to do so. This certainly isn't the only game to portray an altruistic Sonic, but it's still a really nice attribute. He's also still sarcastic and flippant, because he is Sonic, but he's incredibly empathetic. He bonds with Shara, they make jokes with each other, and they're good friends. He mouths off to the bad guys, and he's a little jocular with the person that he thinks is Knuckles. But other than that, this Sonic is a really nice guy. But the shining star of this story for me is Shara. Abusive relationships are, to outsiders, simple. Just leave the abuser. They don't love you, so you shouldn't love them. But with Shara, we see the complexity in her relationship with Eraser. She wants to be with him even though he abuses her. She's afraid to leave him because when she does, he'll hurt her. Eraser belittles her, and even though without him, just with her friend, she accomplishes more than he ever did, she believes his lies because that's what she's been conditioned to do. She wants to stop him, wants to help Sonic defeat him, but also can't help but be swayed by his influence. The genius lies in how she escapes the relationship. If it was a simple matter of Sonic coming in to save her, that would be a little problematic, but he's able to defeat Eraser through the contingency plan that Shara gave to him. She's able to end the relationship through her own will by relying on her friends to help her out when she's at her most vulnerable. I'm reminded of the Why I Stayed Twitter trending hashtag, where abuse survivors described why they didn't just leave their abuser, as well as sometimes why they did leave. The creator of the tag, writer Beverly Gooden, said on her website, quote, "Why did I stay? Leaving was a process, not an event, and sometimes it takes a while to navigate through the process. I believe in storytelling, I believe in the power of shared experience, I believe that we find strength in community." End quote. To me, a big reason Shara's story works is because she is able to leave an abusive relationship, and although she needs assistance, it's assistance that she chooses to seek. It's encouraging, and I think subconsciously this story spoke to a young abused boy because it helped me see that I can call on the help of others to end abuse, which is something I didn't realize the game helped teach me until writing this video script. Sonic is also the perfect example of what to do when a friend is in an abusive relationship, which is another reason that he's so likable. Sonic asks Shara questions, but he doesn't press her beyond what she's comfortable answering. He talks to her in a friendly manner, never pushing her into a decision. In fact, his wish isn't for her to leave Eraser because he thinks it's what's best for her. It's for her to do what she knows is right, even if it's hard for her. He goes along with and supports her plan for leaving the relationship, and he comforts her when it ends. All in all, there's a lot of lessons to be learned in this game. And that's not the end of the things that I like. There's so many smaller things as well. The original Arabian Nights has King Shahryar go from violently murdering his likely non-consensual wives to learning to appreciate the wisdom of women, because Scheherazade was able to outsmart him. So despicable a character doesn't really deserve a happy ending, so fittingly, I think, in this game, he's portrayed by the ridiculous Dr. Eggman. The game goes out of its way to humiliate the character, and the doppelganger has none of Eggman's redeeming qualities, like his wit. Obviously, the game rated E for everyone doesn't reference the fact that Shahryar is a serial killer, but it sets him up as receiving so much punishment, that if you know who the character is, it feels like comeuppance. Sinbad the Sailor is portrayed by Knuckles the Echidna. Given that Sinbad is from 9th century Basra, which historically, around that time, was the origin of Afro-Iraqis, it's cool to have a black-coated Sinbad. Normally Sinbad is portrayed as Arab, or even white for some. Wait, what? Oh, Thomas, hello. Knuckles is coded as black? Yeah, he is. Since when? Well, since the beginning, really. Takashi Yuda created Knuckles for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and the design was largely based on Black Caribbean people, specifically Jamaicans, with coding of the Maya being added later in the franchise. His spines are reminiscent of Afro-textured locks, and are even called dreadlocks in the Sonic Heroes game manual and in Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. His shoes are modeled after the Rastafarian flag, and in the Sonic Advance 2 Prima Guide, it's revealed he was originally going to speak with a Jamaican accent. He lives on a tropical island, which, by itself wouldn't mean much, but when you add it all together, Knuckles is pretty obviously coded off of black Jamaicans. Also, there's the fact that this is his Sonic Adventure theme song.
Hard as nails, it ain't hard to tell. I break them down whether they solid or frail. Unlike the rest, I'm independent since my first breath. First test, feel the right, then the worst left.
Yeah, so by having a black-coated Sinbad and a couple of other things, this game also does something that a lot of adaptations of Arabian Nights don't. It incorporates multiple cultures into its world. Now don't get me wrong, Arabian Nights is obviously an Arabian story, but so many stories within this story originated in or take place in India, China, Africa, and the pre-Islamic Middle East. These inspirations are left out of many retellings, but by including Black and East Asian coded characters, by referencing Jewish history and folklore on top of Islamic and pre-Islamic Arabic folklore, and by referencing many cultures through character design, Secret Reigns manages to embrace the hodgepodge of inspirations Arabian Nights did better than most. Speaking of design, I love the design in this game. Every world is beautiful and interesting to look at. The basic enemy designs admittedly leave a little something to be desired, but that is more than made up for with the designs of Eraser Jin and Shara. So many designs of Jins in pop culture follow a basic trend. Masculine Jins are racist stereotypes, feminine Jins are objects to be lusted after. There are exceptions, definitely, but Secret Reigns subverts these wonderfully. Eraser just looks awesome. He's definitely humanoid, but he perfectly encapsulates the Muslim addition to Jin folklore of a being made of fire. He's not flaming, but his eyes and his hair give off this feeling of scorching heat. It's fantastic. He also fits into the pre-Islamic tradition of Jinns as powerful shapeshifters, and the Maronite Christian association with wish granting, specifically as tied to his lamp. Shara also looks great, although she's fighting a separate battle when it comes to design. Even in media meant for children, if a djinn is a woman, she'll often be portrayed with an impossibly thin waist, gratuitous cleavage, and a sultry, seductive attitude. And often, for djinns, the design comes from a desire to exotify or fetishize. Shara's design, though, works so well. Her clothing is still clearly inspired by pre-Islamic Arabian clothing, but it doesn't veer into Orientalist fantasy territory like some other genies. Her body's realistically proportioned, save the eyes, I guess, but I mean, it's still a Sonic game. She's also, though not human, coded as Arab without going into ethnic stereotyping, providing representation for a group of women very underrepresented in video games. I also love the party mode. Sure, it's a pretty obvious Mario Party clone, but it's a dang good one, which is more than I can say for a lot of games that actually market themselves as party games. The minigames are enjoyable, and there are clever metagames that manage to add something new to the genre. This is also where the Wii controls shine, as I personally rarely had problems outside of the canoe race. Now, of course, no discussion of a video game would be truly complete without addressing gameplay in the main section, and I recognize why this game is not everybody's favorite. The controls are, though not unmanageable, very sensitive, to say the least, and the timing is often such that you either input at the correct moment or fail a level, and load times are not great either. The RPG elements range from a neat way to change what type of Sonic game you're playing, to a way of locking out elements that should be standard across playthroughs. Homing attacks, for example, should not be something that you can choose to turn on or off. The layout of levels requires precise movement, and while Speed Break will move you incredibly fast, it leaves you as vulnerable as Sonic has ever been. And I still kind of like it. Don't get me wrong, it's not the best feeling Sonic game out there, or even the best on the Wii. But there's something that feels right in playing Sonic as this raw force of energy that's always on the verge of damaging itself. You're finally playing as a bullet, and controlling it is hard, and it feels like it should be. If you want to move backwards, you have to counter the auto-running feature, so it feels like Sonic literally has to go fast, while you try to stop him. And the unforgiving precision of the spacing is also something I kind of like. In moderation, mind you. I can't sit down and play this game for nearly as long as I can others. But just like there are those that crave the difficulty of the Dark Souls games, just like the fans of those online Flash and Unity games that market themselves as impossible or quit-inducing, I like how hard these levels can be. Sure, it's irritating, but when you finally master the rhythm of a level and blaze through it like a cat, it's very satisfying. But I would never say that this game is for everyone. I enjoy this game, but a lot of people don't, and that's perfectly fine. Just like I don't want to let someone's dislike for a game dissuade me from playing it, I don't want my enjoyment of a game to be an advertisement for it. If you take something away from this video, it shouldn't be that Sonic in the Secret Rings has hidden depths, which it does, but instead, this. If the media you enjoy isn't hurting anybody, isn't degrading anybody, or making you think less of other groups of people, don't feel bad for enjoying it. Explore why you enjoy it, and you'll likely find that it resonates with you specifically in a way that it might not resonate with other people. Art is subjective, and we can have reasons to hate something that are just as legitimate as another has a reason to love it. Don't let your peers determine your taste, and recognize that, even if what you like isn't the most famous thing in the world, that doesn't make you a weird or uncritical person, or a sycophantic fanboy. I'm no fan of the let people enjoy things mantra, as I think it leads to a lot of silencing of criticism. But, perhaps, for those of you with self-esteem issues such as I have, a variation of that saying may be useful. Let yourself enjoy things. Thanks for listening.